come, I'm gonna 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 come. Fuck off!
I'm having way too much fun with this soundboard this morning, guys. See Star-Lord's already in the house. Ready to pop off this morning on this Friday. Alright. Enough shenanigans. Let's get things started, shall we? Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. Uh-oh. I thought I broke this soundboard. Anyway, 45 degrees out here in New York City, coming to you live. Good morning. Hey. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Happy Friday. What did I say? Friday? Let's go! Friday! Get up! Wake up! Let's go! Hey! Friday! You made it! It's the end of the week. Time to get nuts. Time to go wild. Time to get crazy. It's the end of the week. We're going into the weekend. I'm excited because I guess you could kind of say I am a casual wrestling fan. However, every time this event comes around every year, this is the time where I go nuts. I get really stoked and excited because this weekend is WrestleMania weekend, y'all. That's right. 2 nights. If you haven't watched WrestleMania in a long time, WrestleMania is now 2 nights. Saturday and Sunday. You got The Rock back. Roman Reigns gonna fight against Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins, all that craziness. And I'm super excited. I'm gonna be geeking out over the weekend, watching WrestleMania like a freak, a damn nut. And I'm super excited for it. Let me know in the chat, what are your plans for this weekend? Basically, I just told you mine. I'm going to be in wrestling heaven for most of the weekend. But congratulations. Like I said, it is Friday. You guys made it. You survived. However your weeks were, you survived and you made it and you're here now. And I thank you, as always, for tuning in here live on the stream. Or if you plan on watching, or if you currently are watching, the on-demand feed. We're going to be talking about a good amount of things today. Of course, main topic is a brand new movie releasing this week is Monkey Man. New movie directed and starring Dev Patel. This is his directorial debut. Last time I saw Dev Patel was in the movie called The Green Knight, A24 movie that came out. People may be more familiar with him because of his role as a younger lad in the movie Slumdog Millionaire, directed by Danny Boyle. I believe he was also in the movie Lion, that also had a good amount of Oscar buzz during that time. I think Nicole Kidman was in that movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he's a great actor. And it's nice to see him branch off into directing. So I'll be talking about that in a little bit. And as always, I'm going to be looking at whatever news hit this past week. Talk about things that I didn't touch on in the previous shows and all that. Little bits here and there. Craziness happening with Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix show. They keep changing showrunners. I don't know what's going on. If that's a sign of things, or maybe it's, I don't know, creative differences. Who knows? Got some interesting photos from Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride movie. which is her take on Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein, starring Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley there. So some interesting things to talk about. And yeah, we are going to be talking about AI this morning, y'all, because the Hollywood Reporter put out this interesting article that I haven't read yet, but I'm really curious to check it out. Talking about how Hollywood's most feared AI tool works and what filmmakers may worry about. So they go into depth about that, and I'm going to be really, really interested to see what all that means, because we've been hearing things here and there. We don't know specifics really. Obviously, the writer's strike, the actor's strike, all that had to do a lot with AI and how it was going to treat creative. And even with everything being settled and solved, a lot of people are still worried about how AI is going to impact the business. Rightfully so. I completely understand. But I guess this article will dive deeper into what all that means. So it's going to be really, really interesting to read more about that. And if you all have any kind of topics on your mind that you always want me to address or discuss anytime during the streams, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Those who are familiar with watching me know I'm very engaging in the chat. It helps that the chat is very much manageable for now. If this thing grows and grows, I'm still going to try my best to manage everything. Kind of reminds me of like back on my Twitch days, when I used to have, I think on average I had like 10 people watching me on stream. I think at most I had 30. Nothing beats the Oscar year where Will Smith, the infamous slap, heard across the industry. And I went from an average of 10 to 20 viewers, all the way up to 200 at one point because of that moment. It was bizarre. It was nuts. And so many people were chiming in like, what happened? Can you believe that? Is it real? I think at that point, everyone was wondering, was it real or was it staged? And I was just pretty much like everybody else. I was still kind of stunned and shocked as to what exactly happened, because I knew it wasn't staged the moment he kept yelling at Chris Rock from the audience. I'm like, no, wait a minute. This is real. We're watching a real in live breakdown of a man. He is indeed a man trying to defend his woman from comedy. But I remember how that stream blew up, and it was such a moment in time. Star-Lord, whatever happened to Gal Gadot's Bride of Frankenstein? That's a good question. I don't know. Let's look it up, shall we? Let's see. Let's see here. So the last time I think any kind of news about that broke was around 2017. I remember it briefly as it was being discussed and all that. However, we have not heard anything about it. So okay, I'm going to read this. So this is an article from 2017 on The Wrap. Gal Gadot as Bride of Frankenstein. Director Bill Condon proposes her if Angelina Jolie exits. So I guess Angelina Jolie was once attached to this project. And then they were eyeing Gal Gadot afterwards. Fletcher. Oh, you know what? I can easily tell you what happened here. I'll easily tell you. It was all tied to Universal's The Dark Universe, which we all now know has been defunct for some time. So basically what was happening there was you had Universal Pictures, Universal really wanting to get into this whole cinematic universe thing because it was working for Marvel. It was middling at best for DC. And they wanted to get into it. So they were going to turn their Universal Monsters franchise into a big kind of cinematic universe, right? And they started, attaching all of these big name stars to it. And we did get to see a movie come out, the first kind of attachment to that universe. And after this movie came out, everything just went downhill from there. And it kind of it forced Universal to abandon their plans for the whole thing. But it started off with Tom Cruise and Sofia Boutella in their version of The Mummy. That was to kind of launch this entire universe. As for the rest of the movies that were supposed to be all tied here, they had, check this out. And I'll pull up the image because I remember they did this whole press release about who they were going to be working with for their entire Dark Universe thing. And they pulled no punches because you had, like I mentioned already before, you had Tom Cruise with Sofia Boutella in The Mummy. You had Johnny Depp, who was cast to be the Invisible Man. You had Russell Crowe, that was cast to be Jekyll and Hyde. And then you had Javier Bardem, who I forget who he was trying to play. And I'll never forget this because they released this photo with all of them there. And for some reason, this thing never allows me to zoom in or whatever. But for the longest time, this photo was spreading around the internet. And this was their kind of universal kind of cinematic universe for the Universal Monsters. And it was exciting at the time because, these are huge names in Hollywood, right? Sofia Boutella, she's probably one of the outliers here. I think at one point they were really trying to shove her down our throats. And now she's attached to Rebel Moon and Zack Snyder there. Great action actress, but as far as actual acting, So Gal Gadot's Bride of Frankenstein was to be part of this whole universe. And once the whole Dark Universe thing fell apart and Universal pretty much abandoned it, that threw everything out the window. And that's it. Now, the name Dark Universe still carries on because they're creating a Dark Universe section in Universal Studios that is supposed to be a celebration of all the Universal monsters and stuff like that. Maybe like a reimagining of the Universal monsters. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to still live on in spirit at Universal Studios, at their theme parks. But that's basically what happened with the Gal Gadot thing. And after Wonder Woman, I do question, honestly, where Gal Gadot's career is going to go. Because I haven't really seen much of her outside of the DC universe. She did some movies here and there. I believe she had a Netflix movie also. She does those movies with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock, right? So she does like some of those movies here and there, but not all of those movies are great. Plus, she also stirred up some controversy with some of her online takes. Of course, everyone loves bringing up the whole Imagine thing during COVID. So I don't really know where her career is going to go now, moving forward, because I can't for the life of me recall what she's attached to, if anything, right now. Let's go look at IMDb. and see where or what projects she has coming up. That's right. The movie on Netflix was called Heart of Stone, right? And they're trying. I think they're trying to start another franchise there, like a Netflix franchise there. But I don't know how well received that whole thing was. So here we go. So as far as like upcoming movies, and this one I totally forgot about this one, and this was something that she was attached to for a while and has been in development for some time. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Okay, I don't know if you saw that. If you saw all the shaking going on. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, guys. Okay. I think we just had an earthquake, which is bizarre because, I'm in New York and, we don't really get anything like that here. And, you saw it. I don't know if you were able to see it on stream, but everything literally started shaking. And at first I thought it was like the train, because as you could see from my view outside, I am right by a major train track, and on occasion I will get like little vibrations from the train, depending on how big the train is or how fast the train goes. Nothing crazy that would like physically shake the building so hard like it just did. So when everything was going down, I felt kind of weird. I was like, oh, did something happen outside? My first thinking was that, did we just have a train derailment or did something crash? Right? I look outside, and as you could see, there's nothing there. So I just decided just to go on Twitter right now. And it sounds like I'm not the only one, because everyone within like the Queens vicinity is posting on Twitter right now that they felt major shakes and earthquake-like vibrations and all that. And it sounds like people in Brooklyn felt it too. Maybe most of the East Coast. So here it says like, everyone all over New York City felt that too. Folks on my street here in Queens were standing in doorways trying to figure out if we actually felt the earthquake. Significant earthquake. My whole apartment was shaking for 30 seconds. Yeah, same here. It sounds like majority of the people who are feeling it felt it in Queens, but it looks like it may have affected all the boroughs all over New York City. So, wow. Crazy, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Now, this is not my first time experiencing something like this, because I may have mentioned before, I've frequented Japan quite a bit. And I remember this was one time I went to Japan a year after they had that major earthquake there. I forgot what year it was. Was it 2011? I believe it was. And or I forget the date exactly, the year. But it's the whole thing that caused the whole Fukushima plant to break down, and that whole thing that happened over there. So Japan, especially in that area, in those regions, were feeling aftershocks and tremors for a long time, up until like a full year afterwards. And I was there a year after. And I remember there was this one time I was visiting Chiba Prefecture. I was there because I was dating someone at the time, and that's where she lived. And I was staying at a hotel in that area. And one night I was in the hotel, and I took a nap, and I woke up to kind of like a slow rumbling tremor. However, this thing lasted, I kid you not, almost 5 minutes. And I was freaking out because I've never experienced anything like that before. And it just felt like, imagine going to like an amusement park where they have like a fun house, and like how there are certain sections of the fun house where the whole thing's swaying up and down, back and forth and all that. And that's how it felt. And I looked out the window and I could see signs swaying back and forth outside. So it wasn't just in my head. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't hungover. And it was freaky, but everyone on the street was walking as if everything was normal. Because, out there in Japan, they're used to this stuff already. Me being the New York guy, I'm not. I've never experienced this, during the times I visited California. I've never experienced it before. Anything that happened over there before. And we've had instances where there will be minute tremors felt in like Brooklyn or parts of New York. Because I believe, correct, I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, but we do have a fault line that runs through New York, but it's like a dormant fault line, I think. I could be wrong, or maybe this was just something that I heard. So that right now that just happened, really freaky and bizarre, and it's crazy that a lot of people are reporting about it. So I'm sure there will be some news about it that will hit later on about it. And yeah, there you go, live on stream. New York City's earthquake. Mark the date, April 5th, 2024, around 10 a.m. 10:30 probably. I don't know exactly what time it was, but wow. Starlord, so close to the eclipse. New York has earthquakes. It's the UFOs. Yeah. I'm telling you, man. It's been a weird couple years, and if that's true, what's gonna happen? That was nuts. That was nuts. Yeah, we have the eclipse coming on Monday, I believe, right? And I don't know if you ever, there's like this thing that happens, and I've seen some videos on it online where they talk about like these weird humming noises in the atmosphere. It's like a low, deep kind of like hum, and no one ever really knows where it comes from. I do hear that sometimes here in New York too. And I've always wondered, like, what is that? Because it's not a plane, it's not like a helicopter. I don't know if it's something like underground, but I've always wondered, like, what is that? Like, what's causing that weird humming noise or whatever the case is? But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is the UFOs. Maybe they're finally going to come in and visit and reveal themselves or something. I don't know. But that was really bizarre. So sorry to all of you out there. Sorry for the minor interruption. I'm just glad that it wasn't like crazy, you know? Because at one point, I don't know if you saw my face as things were happening. I was contemplating, should I run towards a doorway right now? You know? And yeah. That was something. That was something. I wonder what kind of scale that hit. You know, if let's see, Queens, New York City. Let's see if any news has dropped about it. Let's see. Yeah, I wonder if CNN would report on something like this. No, of course not. How about New York City news? I feel like it's so new. I'm pretty sure a lot of outlets probably would not have anything on it just yet. Yeah, no, nothing. Let's check. And it's crazy how I have to resort to Twitter or X to talk about let's see. So I'm seeing like a lot of, all right, I'm gonna share my, so even Jessica Chastain, who she does live in New York City and she does a lot of Broadway. Did we just have an earthquake in New York City? I'm pretty sure we just had an earthquake here in Brooklyn. What was that? Both New York City and upstate shaking. Let's see. Anime NYC. What was that an earthquake? Earthquake NYC, my building rattled. NYC earthquake. Was that an earthquake or am I dreaming? New York Metro weather. I forgot to include scattered earthquake in today's weather rating. My bad. Didn't expect an earthquake to be on the scorecard for New York today. Wild. Well, for today. What about for the year? Listen, New Yorkers, I felt the earthquake in New Jersey. You're not special. You don't own the quake. Well, so it sounds like East Coast. East Coast was affected. Look at that. Patton Oswalt is now cast as White in the Among Us animated series. So there you go. Oh, I like this one. Suck at LA. We have an earthquake Twitter too. we Oh, New Haven, Connecticut. So it looks like people in Connecticut felt it also. Wow. Better hope nobody is cloud seedling. What is that? Sorry, what is that? I don't think I've ever heard of that. Oh, it looks like Philadelphia felt it too. All right, this person's saying it was a magnitude 4.8. I don't know how true that is. Oh yeah, look at this. Magnitude 4.8 earthquake hits New York City. I don't know where he's getting this information from. Is there like a crazy something app? An earthquake app? But it looks like people in Philly felt it also. 4.8. Oh yeah, look at this. USGS magnitude. 4.8 in New Jersey. Wow. That's freaking crazy. A lot of memes. A lot of memes. Earthquake Center. Let's see. There has to, oh yeah, UGS Hazards Program. Yo, look at all of these reports right now. This is a map, and I guess everything that has a dot has reported feeling something. So we have Philadelphia, New York, of course, Connecticut, parts of Massachusetts, upstate New York, Ottawa, Canada, Vermont, New Hampshire, Toronto. That is so nuts. Let's see here. I guess the numbers next to these locations are magnitude levels. New York 3.6. Which one is that? I guess that's the highlighted area here, maybe. Unbelievable. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know anything when it comes to this stuff. So all this is just gibberish to me. I mean, if it's really 4.8, like they're saying, that's nothing to shy at. That's like moderate, right? It's like something they do to manipulate weather effects or something. Oh, is that right? Causing California, really? So are those like experiments? Is it stuff that they're experimenting with the weather? I had no idea about that. They call it cloud seeding. Huh. I mean, let's look outside for now. How does it look like outside? I mean, look, the clouds are very ominous looking. It's kind of funny the way the image is being captured right now. It almost looks as if like it's something out of a movie. Yeah, they do look pretty sus, don't they? And what's that shadow moving right now? What is that? Oh, that's a UFO. We're being visited. That's it. Game over. That's it. Jordan Peele was right. We got UFOs, y'all. His movie predicted this. We should have been aware of it. My gosh. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Look at those look at the shadow that's like moving across the I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's end of days. Where's Arnold Schwarzenegger? Let's get him in here. Did you watch that movie? Who watched that movie, End of Days? Who remembers that movie, End of Days? Not a great movie. I'm just trying to check to see if there's any like you know, like how sometimes your phone alerts you. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, here's the official report from the Weather Channel. Weather Channel breaking 4.8 magnitude earthquake reported in the Northeast. Shaking felt in New York City, Philadelphia, and Boston. Story coming soon. So there you go. Now they're saying, and again, I don't know how true this is, but in Philadelphia, but also Jersey, they felt a stronger one. 5.5, they're saying over there. So bizarre stuff, man. Crazy stuff. I can't believe it. Out of all mornings, but also just out of all time. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to think that we are here in 2024 and we're talking about earthquakes in New York City. I remember when there was a brief tornado that formed and was traveling down certain streets in Brooklyn several years ago. And it was like a freak thing that happened. It's like, oh my God, you know, like who would ever thought that there would be a tornado in New York? Well, it looks like New York can get everything. And it's the one thing that I always say when it comes to any movie. It's like, why is it that New York always has to be the target for a lot of things? Yeah, you know, I was like, I get it. I get we're like a big metropolitan city. A lot of stuff happens here. We're always like a big city that's highlighted everywhere, you know, but everything has to happen to New York, like in the movies, right? So, New York, as a New Yorker, I can officially say that we have now had an earthquake. We've had tornadoes in the past, albeit very small and brief. So yeah, crazy stuff. That's right. Gozer has finally returned. That's it. Gozer is finally making their way down here, and it's going to take back the city, claim ownership. Bizarre stuff. Bizarre stuff. I'm glad it was caught on camera here. So I have to go back and look at it because I'm sure it looked really freaky because it felt freaky to me. All right. Well, let's shake things off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Da 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 ba 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 ba. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. If you chose the form of your destructor, what would you choose? That is an excellent question. Excellent question. I have to think about it. But you know who it would be? Parappa the Rapper. Because if I am going to see my own demise and demise of my city and my universe, I want it to be done in rap. And Parappa the Rapper will come down in his paper 2D form, you know, and probably just be like, you know, kick, punch, it's all in the mind, but to do, you know, stomp, crash, up your ass. You know, like I wanted it to be done in rap in a funny, cartoony way. So that way I could at least just say like, oh shit, look at that. That's hilarious. Goodbye, everybody. And the running joke I always have with a good friend of mine is that when the end of the world comes, you know, I want to be, you know, we have this running joke where it's like, okay, the end of the world is coming, so we're going to whip out some cardboard, lay it down in the street, and we're just going to start breakdancing, right? Because when everything goes to dust, I want to be mid-windmill. Because if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out like a champ. I'm going to go out like a rock star. I'll just be, you know, breakdancing, hit the windmill, boom, mid-windmill, I'm out. That's it. That's how I'm going to go. That's how I'm going to go. And I want to be doing all that while Parappa the Rapper is going around destroying shit and rapping. Because his rapping is always what he's doing, right? Like kill, kill, destroy. I would choose giant balloon, then pop it. That's actually pretty funny. Or the Kool-Aid Man. Is he gonna like bust up from the earth and be like, oh yeah, and then boom, everything? Or is he gonna like splash down, like, oh yeah, and then kadoosh, everything gets destroyed and vaporized. And if you don't know who Parappa the Rapper is, it's a character from a PlayStation game. One of my favorite games of all time. And just because it's a lot of fun, it's a rhythm game. And this is how he looks like. So imagine that is your demise. The person that will wipe everything out from the face of the earth, you included. And he's a 2D dog, hip-hop dog. And literally he goes around and he raps what he sees and what he does. And I'm going to be watching him and hearing him rap how he's destroying the universe. I know it's kind of crazy, but hey, That's my choice. If Ray Stantz can choose the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, I'm going to choose Parappa the Rapper. I remember that game. It was the first hand-eye coordinated game. Yeah, it was definitely one of the first, for sure. And it's crazy, too, because that game was huge in Japan. Very big. And I always felt like it wasn't that big here. Because I never really witnessed or experienced a lot of people outside of my friend circle really talking about that game. Now, when that game came out, I was working in the game industry too. So, of course, us within the industry were talking about it because it was such a unique experience for that time. And it was huge in Japan, so much so that they made merchandise. You know, a lot of the most, I guess, popular piece of merchandise from that game was an alarm clock that you could buy. And when the alarm goes off, it's like da 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 da. And then when you hit the frog on the head, he screams, "You gotta believe!" Da 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 da. And then that's how the alarm turns off. They even made an anime series that aired in Japan, never got released here in the States. I have all the DVDs for the Japanese anime. Don't know what the hell they're saying in it, but I thought the animation style was very cool, and I love the opening theme music. I think one of my future projects I've always wanted to work on was to get it translated and subtitled so that maybe I can do like a fan release for it. Because I'm sure a lot of people would love to see that. Yeah. But yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. All right, let's get back to business. So we were talking about Gal Gadot, right? And I'll just go over this real quick. So her upcoming projects, the one that she's been attached to and it's been in development for a while is Cleopatra. So that is like I guess one of her biggest movies that she has that's going to be coming out eventually. I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but that's something she's been attached to for a long time. They are working on Red Notice 2 for Netflix. And I guess she's also going to be the evil queen in Snow White. I think this is the live action Disney Snow White that they're working on that's supposed to be coming out next year. So she has some things coming up, which is good for her. I like her as an actress. I think she's good. Of course, she's gorgeous. Yeah, but that's, of course, my opinion. So, yeah. So there's Gal Gadot and all that. All right. With all that being said, let's talk about this movie, Monkey Man. And I'm going to try something here. I don't know how this is going to go. But I wanted to experiment with this for some time now. And let's see. I'm attempting to go live on a vertical format for YouTube Shorts. So I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know what's going to happen here. And I don't know if I I don't even know if I'm going to be able to see whatchamacallit, to see the chat and all that. But it's something that I've been wanting to kind of experiment with for the channel and for like these live shows. So let's see here. I want to see. Because I know you could go live twice, right? I think the YouTube will limit you to 5 live streams in your account. But I don't know if it's working now. So it says I'm live, but I'm going to check it out. Let's see how this looks. If this is really happening or not. But maybe it's not working. Okay. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I'm going to have to test this another time. Yeah, I'll test it another time. Anyways, oh, now I have messages from my friends about the whole earthquake thing. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. All right. So let's talk Monkey Man, shall we? Sorry. Give me 1 second. Kind of messed up my Windows. Damn Windows. Tell them you have to drop a load. Sorry about that. Could you imagine dropping a load so hard that it causes like an earthquake? I wonder if that's what happened with Andre the Giant every time he had to take a deuce. Sorry. And I won't want a peanut. All right. So Monkey Man. Monkey Man is the newest film directed and starring Dev Patel. Dev Patel, like I've mentioned before, you may be familiar with him in Slumdog Millionaire. I think that was the first movie that really brought him into prominence, I guess. He starred also in the movie Lion, I believe, that got a lot of Oscar buzz the year that came out in 2016. The last time I personally saw him in anything was in the movie The Green Knight, an A24 film that came out in 2021. Personally, I didn't really like that film. Visually, I thought they did a lot of great stuff throughout. Cinematography wise, I thought was really good, but story wise, I thought was kind of meh, you know. And his performance was just okay, I think, in the movie. So I didn't really have much of, I guess, exposure to him as an actor, but from what I've seen, for the most part, he's very good. Slumdog Millionaire, he was so good in it. He was very brilliant. And Lion, I've only seen clips of it. I never watched the full movie there. The interesting story about Monkey Man is that Monkey Man was once supposed to be a Netflix film. That this movie was being made and produced to be on Netflix. I believe Netflix bought the rights for it eventually and was going to release it on the Netflix platform. However, Jordan Peele, when he saw this movie, he basically went to Dev Patel and said, no, you need to release this in theaters. I think this movie is going to do really well and it deserves to have a theatrical release. So thanks to Jordan Peele and Jordan Peele's production company that helped out with the film to make sure that it got a proper release, now we have it releasing in theaters this weekend. So if anything, I would say Jordan Peele has a brilliant mind when it comes to film and filmmaking. And now he could add producer as a great role to his resume. And how funny is it now that I am getting an alert on my phone? What is this? It's like almost 20 or 30 minutes after the fact. 4.7 magnitude earthquake has occurred in the New York City area. Residents are advised to remain indoors and to call 911 if injured. More info, click on the link. I love it. Nice to know that our alert systems are working so well that we would get this alert literally 30 minutes after everything happened. Good job, emergency alert system. Love it. Love it. So anyway, so Jordan Peele said, let's release this in theaters. And, you know, there have been articles that's been coming out, Dev Patel, you know, talking about the challenges in directing his very first film, especially a film like this. It is very action-packed, has a lot of action moments and action stunts all throughout. And anytime you ever ask anyone who's directing a film and also starring in their own film that they're directing, obviously there are a lot of challenges there because you have to kind of go back and forth. And I think if you looked at everyone who's done it, You know, your Ben Affleck's, your Kevin Costner's, they will all say that there's so many challenges when it involves a lot of those things. Clint Eastwood, just to name a few, Bradley Cooper. And the premise of this movie is an interesting one, not so far from things that we may have seen in the past, but I guess executed in a different way. You have a guy, Dev Patel's character, we'll call him Monkey Man, who, as a child, was part of a commune in India that had their land completely taken over by the government, wiped out, kind of claimed as a holy land, because the military was working very closely with this religious leader and were spreading kind of religious beliefs throughout India for political favor and gain and all those things like that. Not so far-fetched from what we see in real life. Unfortunately, during this moment, he loses his mom, his only family. So he grows up with this whole anger within him that he's seeking revenge. And we very much start the film off with him kind of for money, and I guess in a way for training purposes, he fights for money. So kind of like an underground fighting world in India where they have their own characters. Think of wrestling, but it's like fighting, like fight clubs, right? But there's an audience there. There's a lot of betting, and he fights for money. Charlita Copley, who stars also in this movie, is kind of like the manager of this fighting circus, right? And also he's like the in-ring announcer and all those things like that. So basically, long story short, Monkey Man is trying to find a way to get back at those who did all this harm to not only himself and his family, but to the people that he grew up with in the land that he grew up in. And he finds his way to kind of infiltrate the area where you have the head of the army or whatever is involved in it. And basically, he spends the majority of the film finding ways to get back at them. It's a revenge movie. Think of Kill Bill. And when on Letterboxd, I basically said, the boy who starred in Slumdog Millionaire grew up to find himself in a Kill Bill movie. And that's basically what this movie's like. I know it's very easy nowadays to compare things to John Wick just because of the action aesthetics. He himself is wearing a suit during a lot of the action scenes, but this is not John Wick. Yes, John Wick is how it started was more of like a revenge thriller, revenge action thriller. And then it turned into something completely different, right? This is pure on revenge action thriller in the vein of like a Kill Bill, in the vein of like kind of like those exploitation movies from back in the day that involve like revenge motives, right? It takes place all in India, and the entire cast are Indian actors and actresses. There's a lot of, I guess, slight political messages in there, also slight social commentary when it comes to the transgender community, because there is a transgender community that this religious cult, I'm going to call it a religious cult, like a religious zealot that's working with the army to kind of wipe out. And at one point, Monkey Man finds himself in this community because he was running away from the military, and he got pretty damn injured. And this community saved him, basically helped him, and kind of encouraged him and allowed him to get that second wind as far as, I need to carry out this mission. And he trains there. There's even like a small little training montage that uses music it's like music that is used to help him with his training during these training montages, which is a very cool thing to see. And he himself, because of his will, is allowing this community to feel strong for themselves and to stand up for themselves. So he allows them to train along with him in a way. And during the major action sequences at the end, they help him out. They become kind of like his own like little army. Which is a pretty awesome thing. And the whole kind of climax of the movie happens during Diwali, which is the big celebration that they have there. Right. This movie was fucking awesome. I'm just going to say it straight up. There are so many cool things about this movie that I thoroughly enjoyed. Dev Patel's acting just went up several notches. And now, as someone that I guess you could see him as more of a dramatic actor, now you could see him in a whole different light. And this dude can do action straight up very well. And it was so amazing to see it transpire out there on the big screen. A lot of the other people that were in the movie, I'm not familiar with this cast because most of them are Indian actors and actresses, but they were all really good too. Such a great ensemble that he worked with on this movie. And Charlito Copley, who I haven't seen in a while, also does a great job with the role that he has there. The filmmaking itself, the directing itself is it reminded me a lot of a Danny Boyle Slumdog Millionaire type of production. But during the fight scenes, yes, you can compare it to John Wick at certain points, but it brought back a lot of like Tarantino's Kill Bill with a lot of like the fast cutting, the fast kind of like movements, and you're following the action scenes little by little in all the little movements. He experimented with a lot of different camera angles, which was refreshing to see, especially someone who's directing for the very first time, to be able to choreograph a lot of those things. It was so well done, very well choreographed, very, very well shot, and very well edited overall. And the one thing I love about the character too is that, when you see like a John Wick, it seems like John Wick is like immortal, right? It's like, yeah, he gets banged up, but he always finds a way to push through, right? Up until the very end. And this character is very much similar to that. This character can withstand a lot of pain and a lot of damage because he's a fighter, right? He's an underground fighter. So it makes sense why he can do that. But he's not immortal. So that is like a major difference. Like he finds himself always banged up to the point where he can't go on. If it wasn't for this community of people that saved him, that helped him out, then he wouldn't have been able to recover. But there's this one particular scene where he's running away from a lot of these bad guys and he has nowhere to go. He's like, no escape. It takes place during one of the best fight scenes in a bathroom that I've seen since Mission Impossible. If you remember the Mission Impossible bathroom scene with Henry Cavill, the whole like when he's cocking his arms and all, that fight scene in the bathroom was so brutal, right? And so visceral and bloody. It was so well done. This is pretty much along the same lines of that fight scene, this bathroom scene here. Plus, it was more close quarters. But as he's trying to escape after that moment, his one option was a window. And he did the whole thing where he like backed up. And he's like, all right, I'm going to bust through this window. And he's running full speed and he hits the window and he bounces right off. No dent, no crack, nothing. He wasn't able to bust out this window at all. And I love that it wasn't that type of action film. It wasn't that type of thing where this guy can do everything. And, like in any other action film, he would have bust through the window, landed somewhere, maybe did a tumble, and then would eventually be able to pick himself up and keep running, right? But no, He's like, I'm not even gonna put that out there. I'm not even gonna put that in the film. So he had to find another way to kind of escape and all. Star-Lord, I wish he cocked that mustache for that. Yeah, that was a choice. That whole CGing removing of that. That was a choice. That was something. So he made the character as believable as possible, you know, but of course still be in a way kind of like a superhero. And I feel like what we saw in this movie was the origins of Monkey Man, kind of like the superhero, very much in the same vein as like Daredevil or The Punisher, like the Netflix shows, the Marvel Netflix shows. It's very much within that same vein because these action scenes were bloody as hell, man. Brutal. He has moments where there are no guns. He hardly uses guns to fight. That's why I can't really compare this to like a John Wick. But he uses knives. And there is these moments where he's just like slashing, stabbing, and just going all out nuts, right? And most of the time, it's a lot of just instinctual fighting and surviving. Very brutal stuff. Very, very brutal stuff. And it was very entertaining all throughout. I had a lot of fun watching it. The fight scenes, like I said, were very well choreographed. You could see a lot of influences from like the Hong Kong movies from back in the day, you know, like the John Woo action flicks. I saw some influences from like some Japanese stuff. Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill. There was a scene in particular that reminded me of Kill Bill. If you remember when the bride was fighting the crazy 88s, right? And they would just have this like wide shot of her silhouette fighting everyone as they were coming at her and all that. There was one particular shot that he kind of borrowed from that where he's like on top of the bar and all you see is like a wide shot of him fighting these people coming at him. I was like, oh my God, that reminds me of that scene in Kill Bill. You know, so you could tell that there was a lot of action influences all throughout this film that he used. And then when it wasn't action, a lot of the serious moments, the kind of character building moments were very well done too. Like you understood his plight. You understood why he was doing what he was doing. They spread out the flashbacks so that you can understand what happened to him as a kid. Because most, like halfway through the film, you knew something bad happened, but you don't know exactly what happened. So they kind of pieced it out all throughout up until like this moment at the end where they kind of like unraveled and told you everything. And how this one main guy, like the head of this military group, was responsible for what happened to his mom, what happened to the village. And you could understand why there's this visceral hate towards this guy. And now to find out that this guy's working with this like religious zealot who is like on TV everywhere and he's like leading up this political election to kind of sway his way, you know, and how this guy was really the mastermind of it all because he was the one that told the military group, we need to get rid of this community, take over this land, you know, classify it and categorize it as a holy land, blah, blah, blah. So he was the one calling the shots overall, you know, and it's not just the revenge on the military group that did this, but also the mastermind behind it all. And how all of that unraveled towards like the end of the second act until the beginning of the third act. And it was just amazingly done. You know, amazingly done. It is one of those movies that you have to watch for yourself and give it a shot. If you like John Wick, obviously you're going to like this movie. If you like Kill Bill, obviously you're going to like this movie. If you're a fan of like those old school Hong Kong action films, the John Woos and all that, you would like this a lot. The only thing I will say is that there are certain moments where the dialogue was very hard to understand because of the very thick Indian accent. And there were moments where they knew it was very hard to understand, so they did add subtitles to it. Of course, anytime they speak Indian, they have the subtitles going there. But even the moments where they didn't, there were times where I was like, oh, I'm having a hard time to really trying to pinpoint what they're saying here. That's the only one criticism I will have. But it's a very small criticism to have because overall the movie was just so entertaining, so well done. And the way the movie ended, spoiler alert, he takes out the main guy. He eventually takes out the guru, the main religious guy. Even though, the religious guy kind of got a one-up on him and stabbed him very brutally. But he was able to accomplish all that. And the moment, it's like any revenge film, in any revenge storyline, there's always that common narrative. Is that, yes, you're on this revenge tour. What's going to happen once you complete it? What will you now do? You dedicated the majority of your life seeking revenge. When you finally have it accomplished, what happens to you next? I feel like that's also a very common theme with Batman. If you remember, Batman became the vigilante that he was because of the death of his parents. And I think in some of the movies and some of the storylines, they address it where it's just like, yeah, it starts off as revenge and then it escalates and it transforms into something more than that, where it becomes a vicious cycle and it never ends. Because if it's not this guy, there's another one. If it's not that guy, it's someone else. If it's not this group, there's a new group. And it's a vicious cycle that never stops, right? So what happens at the end of it all when you finally accomplish what you accomplished? What will you do? And this movie does not answer that. It very much leaves itself open-ended, where he does what he does. He has this moment of reflection. It's like, Mom, I did it. I was able to do it. I revenged your death. I revenged the bad things that happened to our people. And then he just collapses, passes out, and that's when we fade to black. Or cut to black. And the movie ends that way. So we don't know what happens to Monkey Man afterwards. There is no clear outline or story or conclusion as to where he goes from there. Or does he just die there because of his injuries that he suffered during that whole fight? Don't know. And that could be an ending that may piss off some people. Understandably so. But for me, I thought the ending was artistic, unique, and very suitable. Because not everything has to have a clear-cut ending. Not everything has to have a completed outline. And not everything has to be force-fed to the audience where like, okay, he did this, now this is what's going to happen to him. Now he's going to go back, live a great life, have a family, raise some kids, blah, 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 this and that. We don't know what's going to happen. So I beg the question, and the question of this stream is like, could Monkey Man turn into the next action franchise? I don't know. I don't think it has to. Because I think for the movie itself, it's a very one-off, self-centered type of movie where you don't need to continue the story at all anymore. But if you have some interesting ideas for it, I could see how this could still continue to be something else. Because, again, it's one of those things where, okay, you have this bad military group. The head is cut off now. The one mastermind behind it all is now out of the picture. Well, what if there's another one? What if there's a number 2? What if there's another group out there who now sees an opportunity to do something similar? Will it be up to Monkey Man to right what's wrong? To fight for the people? Could he be like that next superhero vigilante that now represents the people of India? I don't know. I don't know where they want to go with this, if even Dev Patel wants to go anywhere with this. But that is a question you have to ask, because if the main studio behind this is Universal, which I was surprised. I didn't know this was a Universal Studios production, Universal Pictures production. But when the movie started, you see the big Universal. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know this was Universal. But if this movie does well in the theaters and it makes money, they're going to be asking that question. Like, hey, could this be a franchise that we have in our hands right now? Dev, what do you think? You want to do another one? I mean, this guy went through hell making this movie. He was saying that like he broke his hands or his knuckles. He suffered so many injuries. You know? But I don't know if he'd want to do another one like this because it's a lot for one person to do. Maybe he may leave the directing to other people. It's hard to say. It's really, really hard to say. But for a standalone movie like this, for an action, revenge thriller type of film, I thought this was very well done, very entertaining. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. And the reason why I gave it such a high mark is because not only was it entertaining, not only did I personally think that the performances were great in it, that the directing was brilliant, but it's the directing from a first-time director doing a movie like this. If you're going to have a movie, your very first movie, knock it out of the ballpark like this, outstanding. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next after that. So because of all of that, 5 stars. 5 stars. Very, very thoroughly entertained. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's into action films. This is a must-see. Must-see. And yeah, you may be able to compare it to a lot of previous action films you've seen in the past. Like I said, I don't think he shies away from paying homage to a lot of things that he, kind of borrowed from. Because you could see the influences. You really can. But he definitely has enough in there that puts his own spin and that makes this still a refreshing movie to see. Like, I didn't sit through this whole thing saying, oh my God, this is like another John Wick. Or, oh my God, this is exactly like Kill Bill. Or, oh my God, this is like Hard Boiled or whatever. Like, I didn't sit throughout this film saying all those things. There are moments where I was just like, oh, that reminds me of this. Oh, that reminds me of that. I just love the whole persona that he gave himself as the Monkey Man because he's an underground fighter. And there was a brief moment, and I kind of wish he stuck with this throughout. Well, after his intense training and he's ready to go, it's Diwali, and he's going to the building where he was like kind of infiltrating as a waiter to kind of understand where things are, what the hierarchy is like. He takes the mask that you see here that he uses during his fighting, right? His underground fighting. He washes it up and he puts it on. And he's walking around the streets in his suit and this mask. And there was a huge part of me that wishes he went through the whole action climax wearing this mask. Because in a way that kind of solidifies him as like this superhero, as like this like vigilante, justice dealing, guy, hitman. I know Marvel has like a Hit Monkey series, but it would have been awesome to see him like just do the whole thing there. But no, he shows up, he sees the first bodyguards, he rips off the mask and just like bam, bam, bam. And that's it. We are off to the races after that. And I respect that. Because he's like, you're going to see me doing this. It's me. And I love, again, like how I say the transgender community that helped him out, how they showed up to support him at the end. They're all dressed up in the saris, and they all have their own mask with their weapons, and they all show up like their own like little ninja group. Oh, it was so nicely choreographed. So well done. So yeah. So really, really enjoyed this movie. And I'm very curious what the reception is going to be like now that it's coming out in theaters this weekend. Hopefully it's mostly positive. Like I'm looking right now, I can see Rotten Tomatoes is 92% critics wise, 71 out of 100 on Metacritic, 7.4 on IMDb. A lot of these are from people who saw it during the festivals because this debuted in South by Southwest. You know, so there's no audience score yet because again, it just released today. But you know, we'll see. We'll see what it is. But I'm excited for those who are about to watch it this weekend. They're in for a ride for sure, and hopefully it's a ride that they're going to enjoy. John Wick Monkey Man team up. That would be kind of dope. That would be kind of dope. Hold on. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. Let's see. Who does... Oh, yeah. John Wick is Lionsgate. That's right. So it's a different studio. Because if it was all under the same studio, I would easily say, like, watch out for the future. Because this could be something that they could eventually combine if they wanted to. Or an epic rap battle. Yeah. John Wick and Monkey Man. Epic rap battle. Yeah. God, I haven't watched a rap battle. I think the last one they did was with Kong and Godzilla. I think, if I'm not to be mistaken. I haven't watched any of those things in a very long time. Very long time. All right. Let's see. Let's talk some headlines, shall we? There are a couple of headlines that I'm interested in talking about this morning. Talking about headlines. 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 All right. So, Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron finally released in China. And, you know, like, if you follow the industry long enough, you can easily say that, or you could easily see that in recent years, there has been a huge emphasis on the Chinese market when it comes to movies. And the reason why is because movie audiences in China really show up and support movies that they want to see. And if you notice that there are some productions that sometimes will purposely include a Chinese actor or actress just so they could get more of that Chinese market. And when it comes to international, majority of international global box office, the majority of that take is from China. So you'll always hear studios saying that they would love to put a lot of emphasis on the Chinese market. When it comes to American movies recently, the Chinese market hasn't been favorable. Not sure exactly why that is. I also think, you know, obviously with things with the pandemic, that really hurt the Chinese box office for a long time. But Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron is released in China and pretty much smashed the Chinese box office. And I'm not surprised because, you know, anime movies, especially Studio Ghibli movies, they do so well internationally. On a global scale, they just do well in, you know, overall. But Boy and the Heron, Studio Ghibli fantasy adventure, is on track to earn well over $100 million in China alone. That is freaking insane. Japanese anime master Hayao Miyazaki's Oscar-winning swan song. Well, not really. I think he's going to come back. He already mentioned much. Boy and the Heron is taking flight at China's box office in a major way. The enigmatic Studio Ghibli hit opened in China on Wednesday and soared to 13.7 million, nudging aside Warner Brothers and Legendary Entertainment's prior box office champ, Godzilla Kong, which brought in 5.2 million for the day, according to data from regional consultancy Artisan Gateway. The Miyazaki masterpiece then set a new record Thursday for the biggest single-day performance ever by a non-Chinese animated film, earning $23.7 million, Disney Animation's Frozen 2 was the former record holder with ticket sales around 167.6 million, but that's RMB. I don't know what that is. That's the Republic Money Bank or something like that. The Boy and the Heron released midweek to take advantage of China's Qingming public holiday, which fell on Thursday this year. Traditionally an occasion for paying respects to one's ancestors, the Qingming holiday has also become a major family movie-going date on the Chinese film industry calendar. Several local titles opened simultaneously against Ghibli, including Gui Zhonggang's rural China set drama Dwelling by the West Lake, which debuted with 2.7 million in third place behind Godzilla Kong. Local ticketing app Moayan currently projects The Boy and the Heron to earn over $105 million in China, which would make it Miyazaki's highest grossing film ever in China, ever in the country. Strong results matched the beloved film's healthy run in North America, where it topped out at 46.6 million, which is Studio Ghibli's best showing ever. In Japan, it earned 61 million since its release. Crazy. Since the pandemic, Japanese anime arguably has supplanted Hollywood tentpole fare as Chinese filmgoers' favorite international film category. Last year, Makoto Shinkai's anime hit Suzume, which is a fantastic anime film if you haven't seen it yet, earned 114 million, and Toei Animation's The First Slam Dunk brought in 93 million. Only Universal's Fast X took in more that year with $138.7 million. So yeah, crazy numbers there. And I'm actually very, very happy for The Boy and the Heron and for Studio Ghibli there. If this says anything, this may push Miyazaki to really want to do another film again, because I feel like because of this response and because of it winning the Oscar for animated feature film, he already said in interviews after the film released in Japan that he's feeling the passion all over again, that he may have an idea for another film. I won't be surprised if we see one more from him. But I'm just happy that a great movie like this is getting well received all over. Well deserved. I'm John Wick. You can't roll with this. You're just a man likes to throw shit. Is that your rap battle? The John Wick portion of the rap battle? Oh man. So yeah, so very, very happy for Studio Ghibli there with that accomplishment. Now, I mentioned earlier at the beginning, Netflix's Avatar, The Last Airbender, is seeing a lot of weird changes going on, and I'm not really understanding what's happening here, so I want to read about this. So I'm back here on The Hollywood Reporter. Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender changes showrunners again. Albert Kim, who replaced creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, is handing over the series to colleagues Christine Boylan and Jabbar Raisani. So we already know the second season and third seasons have been greenlit. They made this announcement not that long ago. But I had no idea that this was going to be the changes here. So showrunner Albert Kim, who replaced creators blah, 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 is exiting the Netflix live action series. Co-executive producer Christine Boylan and executive producer Jabbar Raisani, both of whom were hired by Kim, will take over as the drama's third showrunners for the previously announced second and third seasons. Sources say Kim's intention was to lay the foundation for season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender after stepping in for the beloved franchise's creators. Given the long turnaround time in crafting the series, Netflix ordered it in 2018. The creators left in late 2020, and the show didn't debut until February 2024. Sources say Kim was ready to move on to new opportunities. Kim, whose resume includes Sleepy Hollow and Leverage, will remain credited as an executive producer on Avatar, as he is expected to sign a development deal with Disney's 20th Television. Kim, who will develop new projects Disney after his Netflix pact expired, will join the Disney Plus series Percy Jackson as an executive producer alongside John Steinberg, Dan Schultz, and Craig Silverstein, the latter of whom he worked with on the CW's Nikita. For her part, Boylan's credit includes Leverage, Castle, Once Upon a Time, The Punisher, and more recently, Poker Face and Citadel. That's a great resume. I have to say, that is a great resume. The producer and playwright is nominated for a Writers Guild of America award as part of the teams behind Peacock's Poker Face. Raizani executive produced season 1 and also served as a director on episodes 3 and 4, as well as a VFX supervisor. That's awesome. Okay. After reading all this, I'm not that concerned. Because in a way, it kind of feels like this is a situation very similar to like J.J. Abrams and how he handles a lot of his stuff, is that he'll start off at first, lay everything out properly, and then leave it in the hands on who's coming up next. I hope this doesn't fall into a Star Wars Force Awakens situation where the next couple of films are a hot piece of mess. But since you have people that are taking over the reins who already was involved in season 1, I'm not that concerned. And Kim sounds like he's going to be doing great things because Percy Jackson, I hear, is very well received overall, right? So I feel like, honestly, this sounds like a win-win all across the board here. It's amazing how there's a lot of shuffling, but it does sound like that Kim always had it in his mind that he was just going to go in, take care of the season 1, the initial season, and then make sure that it's left in good hands after that. Setting things up. Setting up the table, making sure everyone eats well, and then for the following courses, making sure that it's all in good hands afterwards. So I respect that. I think, with the way season 1 turned out, which I enjoyed, and I can't wait for the next seasons. I enjoyed it so much, and again, if you know me by now, I never watched the original animated series, so I had no like emotional ties or really strong ties to this series in general. So watching the first season of the live action, I really got thoroughly entertained. I really enjoyed all of it, so much so that I can't wait for the next seasons to come out, and I can't wait. Now I want to go and watch the animated show. So if they were able to do that for me, then I'm excited for what's coming up for the next couple of seasons. So yeah. So I think it's in good hands. I don't think there's anything much to worry about there. This is a bit of news that I was curious to hear about because I remember when this was announced and it was kind of baffling to me because it's such an obscure character, but they're doing a movie adaptation of the comic book character Avengelyne, which is a character that was created by Rob Liefeld way back in the day. And she was such like a different character, such a small character that if you weren't like following Image Comics that time, you probably would have never known anything about her. But they picked up the rights. Margot Robbie's production company picked up the rights, and it looks like they are really moving forward with this movie. So Don't Worry Darling and Booksmart actor Olivia Wilde is attached to direct a feature film adaptation of Deadpool co-creator Rob Liefeld's 1995 comic Avengelyne. Former Vampirella model Kathy Christian co-created the comic about the most feared warrior in Heaven's war host, who single-handedly broken into Hell's outer fortress, Pandemonium, to confront the devil himself. She is a fallen angel banished from heaven by God after being tricked into questioning his love for humans. She's stripped of all of her angelic abilities other than her great strength and her blood, which once extracted from her body could be used as a weapon or a miracle once empowered by quoting verses from the Bible. Avengelyne uses her powers to fight demons on Earth and is being groomed to be humankind's last hope in the coming Armageddon. In the film, she is entrusted to find and protect the One, a person who is the key to protecting humanity for demons and other monsters. Margot Robbie, Tom Ackerley, and Josie McNamara's production company Lucky Chap is producing the project, along with X-Men franchise producer Simon Kinberg. A package is being put together with the aim of being ready to take to studios and streamers in the coming weeks. Wilde is next due to direct Naughty at Universal Pictures, with Lucky Chap also producing. So there you go. I guess the big question here is, will they cast Margot Robbie to be Avengelyne herself? I think that is like the big question right there. Because what is Margot Robbie going to do next now that she is not Harley Quinn anymore moving forward? At least it appears that way, that she's not. She's already done Barbie. We heard that her production company is going to be doing The Sims, an adaptation of the video game The Sims. You know, so Margot is not really kind of attached to any IP franchises at this time. Are they going to try to do this with Avengelyne? You know, because Barbie, I personally think, is a one and done thing. I don't think she's ever going to return to that role. You know, because I can't foresee Greta Gerwig writing or directing another Barbie movie. Now, I'm sure Warner Brothers would want to make another one. But I don't think, and I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see any of these people that were attached to the first Barbie movie returning. I don't think it's going to happen. So could this be the next big thing that Margot Robbie's eyeing to star in? Who knows? Olivia Wilde is an interesting director. She's been kind of hit or miss for me. She's done some things that I liked and other things that I didn't care so much for. I think her last movie was the Florence Pugh movie. Olivia Wilde, director. Hold on, my browser just froze. Here we go. Okay. So where is her? All right. I hate going to IMDb because I really loathe this site. I hate the format of it all. Here we go, director. So yeah, so the last movie she did was Don't Worry, Darling, which I liked parts of it, but overall it wasn't that great of a movie. I loved Booksmart. Booksmart was a fantastic film, very funny. I never saw Wake Up. Yeah, and then she has some movies upcoming. They're saying that she's attached to a Sony Marvel project, so something within the Spider Universe. And then Naughty, the next movie that she has coming up. I believe there was news that broke about that, but basically it's a movie about Santa Claus. I wonder if it's like a dark humor type comedy about Santa Claus. Who knows? So she's been 50-50 for me, really, for the most part. So it'll be really interesting to see what she does with a film like this. I'm getting another alert on my phone. Awesome. This is in regards to the earthquake. So aftershocks may be felt. New Yorkers can continue usual activities. Thank you. Nice to know. Nice to know. So if you see me freaking out at any time for the rest of the stream, you may know why. How do you make a movie about The Sims? Hollywood running out of ideas. Yeah, I don't know. Well, the same question I have is with the Minecraft movie too. It's like, how do you make a movie with Minecraft? You know, I'm sure there's some unique creative ways you can go about it, but I don't see how they do it. Now with The Sims, this is how I can foresee a movie being made. They could go the Lego movie route, where maybe the focus is on, or this is also something that they did with Free Guy, right? The movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, where Maybe the focus is on the person playing the game who, or the focus is in the game, kind of like what they did with Barbie too, where they find connections with their human player and find a way to kind of merge the two universes somehow. Or maybe the person playing it gets too involved in the world in life that they're creating within their Sims world that they carry their own life in similar ways in real life. I don't know. Like, I feel like I have bits of ideas here and there on how they could do it. But look, at the end of the day, I'm not a script writer. I'm not in charge of coming up with ideas here. I'm sure there are a lot more smarter and more creative people than I am working on this stuff. I guess we'll wait and see what happens there. But if it was me and I was pitching some ideas, these are just some of the tidbits that I can come up with that I could think of. You know, do similar things like you saw with the Lego movie. Do similar things like what they did with Barbie, and kind of, you know, take bits of pieces here and there and come up with something. Also, what they did with Free Guy. Yeah. Oh, you're thinking of Sim City. It's about building houses. Or, well, no, The Sims also had a portion where you built your own house too. I remember that. I remember, I don't know, I told this story before when I read the news of the announcement of them making a Sims movie, that every time I built a house, I always ended up burning it down because I love doing barbecues in the backyard. And for whatever reason, my Sim guy was an idiot and just doesn't know how to properly barbecue. And every time he barbecued, there was a fire that started. And my house always burned up. Happened at least 3 or 4 times from what I can remember. Yeah, my Sims was like kind of an idiot. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're doing it. You know, and when the Hollywood train keeps going, there's no stopping. So here are some photos from Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. And this is Jessie Buckley, who's playing the bride of Frankenstein. I mean, looks-wise, this looks really great. This looks fantastic. And then here's Christian Bale as Frankenstein. Now this I'm kind of worried about because, again, why are we doing the whole tattoo thing? Like, does everything have to be kind of like similar to Jared Leto's Joker? Like, I don't like that. Like, dope. Is it really dope? But I like Jessie Buckley's look here. I like her as an actress in whole. You know, I just really like her as an actress. As for the movie itself, I don't know much about it. The Bride movie. So I'm going to see if I can look up what is. Here. I am here on Entertainment Weekly. Okay, here we go. So you have Christian Bale, Jessie Buckley, but you also have Annette Bening, Penelope Cruz, and Peter Sarsgaard all starring in this movie. The Bride will take place in 1930 Chicago, and the bride is created by the monster and Dr. Euphronius when they reanimate a murdered young woman. She is beyond what either of them intended, igniting a combustible romance, the attention of the police, and a radical social movement. So that is the synopsis of that movie there. Interesting. Don't know exactly when it is going to be released, but it is currently being filmed right now. So there you go. Maggie Gyllenhaal's take on The Bride of Frankenstein. Sounds interesting. I like the cast. I mean, I don't know what to really expect from this, but it sounds interesting. I like the sound of it. I'm playing Assassin's Creed. Oh, nice. I'm mad because my 15. Oh, no. Oh, that sucks. Are you playing Assassin's Creed on your computer? Are you playing the first one? Like the original one? That's the only one I ever played. And then I kind of I fooled around with the second one, but it just felt like more of the same stuff. So I felt kind of bored. Xbox. Okay. Very cool. I like the first one. Oh, Assassin's Creed 4. Which one is that one? What era are they in for that one? Well, Black Flag. This is the pirate one. I never played it. But I think I have it because what was it on Xbox? Wasn't it part of like Xbox Gold once as like a free game for the month? So I think I have it downloaded or something. So how far are you in it? Let me know. Like have you played it before? Or is this your first time playing it? Arr. What's up, PQ in the house? Heard y'all got an earthquake. Also, hiya. Yep. Oh, yeah. It was all caught on stream. You could see me and my reaction to it. It was crazy. It was crazy. And it lasted like 30 seconds. Yeah. It was pretty nuts. What was even better too, PQ, just so you know, not only did it happen, but then our alert service system didn't send out alerts until 20 or 30 minutes after the fact. But yeah, it was an interesting moment for sure. And you know, after feeling something like this in Japan, I would have never expected I would feel something like that in New York. And the one in Japan that I felt was much milder than this. You know, this was a little bit more aggressive than what I experienced in Japan. The one in Japan was a little bit more steady and calm, but it lasted 5 minutes. This was like 30 minutes of just like, okay, what's happening now? So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Nope, no thanks, but ain't nothing wrong with them. Oh yeah, no, the planet's fine. Planet's perfectly fine. Pretty far, been enjoying it. Sorry, I'm reading this. Been playing. Okay, cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. By the way, Bride of Frankenstein looks interesting. Christian Bale will knock it out. Oh yeah, I'm happy that he's attached to it. The thing is, like, they got some really good people attached to it. You know, Christian Bale is a great actor. Jessie Buckley, in my opinion, is a fantastic actress. So they got good people attached to it. And I think Maggie Gyllenhaal can direct a good movie. Maggie Gyllenhaal. I mean, she's already directed some films that were in heavy discussions for Oscars at one point. Let's see. God, I really hate IMDb. But The Lost Daughter, I remember when that came out, that was being talked about a lot during the Oscar race of that time. You know, I've never seen it, you know, but I would be very much interested to see what she can do for a movie with that type of storyline. Bride of Frankenstein. I would be very, very interested to see how that would be like. All right. Moving on to other stuff here. You know what? Since we're talking about video games, let's talk about some video game news. So, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. That has been a remake that's been in the talks, in the works for a very, very long time. Saber Interactive, that is attached to it, was part of Embracer Group. And Embracer Group has been going through some shit. They've been closing up houses. They've been selling off pieces of the things that they bought themselves. Just going through a lot of stuff. So when Saber saw the writing on the wall, they took it upon themselves. And I spoke about this when it happened. I covered this before. They decided to gather up all their money, or as much money as they could, so that they themselves can buy their own contract, buy themselves out of the contract, and branch off away from Embracer on their own. And with them, they took Knights of the Old Republic remake. So I think after all that was said and done, a lot of people were questioning, well, what's happening to the game? Because we haven't heard any updates on it since. So I'm back here, Dark Horizons. Saber Interactive CEO Matthew Karsh has confirmed that work is still taking place on the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, which remains very much in active development. Speaking with IGN, he was asked to definitely confirm that following its split from Embracer Group last month, Saber was still working on the game. Karch said, "It's clear and it's obvious that we're working on this. It's been in the press numerous times. What I will say is that the game is alive and well, and we're dedicated to making sure we exceed consumer expectations." Despite Karch's dismissive suggestion that the remake status is obvious, questions around the fate of the game have been lingering for months. The remake was announced as a timed PS5 console exclusive during a PlayStation Showcase event back in September of 2021. Can you believe it? That long ago? Since then, reports suggest original developer Aspyr had stopped working on it and Saber had taken over the game entirely. Late last year, rumors emerged that the game has been abandoned, but that seemed less likely when Embracer sold Saber last month, and journalist Jason Schreier indicated that the remake was going with Saber. So there you go. Now, I, for one, who is a huge fan of Knights of the Old Republic, who I've been saying this for a while now, deserves a proper remake. I can't wait for this. However, I am concerned because I feel like anything that has been, involved with Aspyr, Embracer, just has not lived up to its potential at all. And it's been very disappointing to see. Very disappointing. Now, Dark Forces Remastered, I don't think was part of any of those groups, if I am correct in saying this. Let me see. Dark Forces Remastered. Who was the publisher or the developer behind this? Come on, internet. The internet should not be suffering from the earthquake either. So it is Night Dive Studios. Night Dive Studios did the Dark Forces Remastered, which I really liked. And they also did remastered versions of Turok 3. PO'd is coming soon, which I didn't know about. And System Shock 2 Enhanced Edition they're working on. And I think they handled Dark Forces Remastered really well. So I am looking forward to seeing this remastered of Knights of the Old Republic whenever it decides to come out, whenever it's ready. As of right now, it's not looking promising, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. In other video game news, I should say, what's going on with this current generation? I feel like there's so many issues with current gen technology right now that we are being sold a bag of bad goods, because we've been told ever since we got into this current gen, and it's been promised from the previous gen, that games are all going to be 60 frames per second, maybe going as high as 120. 4K. If you look at the box of the PlayStation 5, at least the original boxes, they all said 8K on them, promising 8K formats, right? But why is it every new game that's coming out for this current gen, why are they struggling with maintaining 30 frames per second? Why can't they seem to maintain a steady 60 frames? Now, a lot of people would probably say, like, well, it's probably the technology. Maybe the consoles, the hardware is not up to spec. You know, we already know that a PlayStation 5 Pro is coming out, but even that, they're saying that it's going to still be difficult to maintain a 60 frames per second frame rate on majority of current gen games. So what's really happening here? You know, especially with the whole ray tracing thing and how that was supposed to be the big thing now. But anytime you play any games and you enable ray tracing, it drops the frame rates down to 30. You know, you have to turn off ray tracing on games like Spider-Man to achieve a 60 frames per second mode. And I don't understand like what the deal is, you know. So now the reason why I bring this up is because Hellblade, the sequel to Hellblade on Xbox, is now going to be 30 frames per second. According to a preview by GamePro, they have confirmed that the highly anticipated sequel, Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga, will run at 30 frames per second only on Xbox Series X and S, according to GamePro. The game will reportedly support dynamic resolution throughout to maintain 30 frames per second, with no graphics modes to choose from a la PS5's resolution, and performance modes. Those wanting a higher frame rate will have to play the title on a high-end PC. The game's visual effects director, Mark Slater Tunstall, tells the site that the decision should make the experience feel more cinematic. This following in the wake of Starfield and Redfall, last year's major first-party Xbox Series XX exclusives, which were locked to 30 frames per second on the console. Understandably, social media is having a field day with the news, with the Sony versus Microsoft fanboy tribalism alive and well. I hate that, but it is what it is. Announced 5 years ago, the game is finally set for release on May 21st. It is tipped to be a digital-only title and will have a campaign that clocks in at around 8 hours. Xbox has also confirmed that Tamim Antoniades, who co-founded Ninja Theory and served as its chief creative director, has left the studio. Also, I've heard separate reports for Hellblade that Ninja Theory, I don't know if it's this guy or someone else from there, claims that current gamers want shorter stories, want shorter games. Now, I kind of agree with that because games, I think, for the most part, are too long. But at the same time, you don't want to pay $70 per game for something that only takes you, 10 hours to finish? Unless it's a 10 hours that is like cinematic and amazing and unbelievable and very interactive and immersive, then I don't mind it so much. But there's the conundrum, right? If a game is going to be under 10 hours long to complete the story, I don't want to pay $70 for it. Let's lower the prices down to $50. Then we're talking, in my opinion. You know, this whole frame rate issue thing is so bizarre to me. Yeah, I can game on my PC if I wanted the faster frame rates, but I thought we were supposed to be having that with our consoles and all that. Now, if this is a developer decision to make it more cinematic, okay, I can kind of buy that. I mean, it's a wait and see situation. It's a wait and see scenario. It is just kind of annoying already at this point that we're having this discussion about 30 frame rates versus 60, 4K, all this kind of stuff, the problems with the hardware, what they could do. Do we really necessarily need a PS5 Pro? It's just so bizarre. This whole current generation that we're in gaming right now is so all over the place. I just don't understand what's happening. And it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating because we're paying so much money for these games. Plus we're having so many games coming out in such a short period of time that for me it's not even worth it. And I've said this time and time again that I'd rather just go back to some older games that I have that I haven't had the chance to beat or play yet. And I'll just wait. And another thing that bothers me about this is that this is supposed to be a digital only release. Fuck that, man. I hate the fact that now that we're now being forced to digitally buy these games and not be able to buy a physical copy of it. That sucks. And I know, we are heading into an all digital future and yada yada, this and that. But there are a lot of problems that come with that too. You know, these companies have the rights, or they say they have the rights to remove games from their library, to remove support for games. That anything that you purchase, you don't really own, but you own the rights to play. It sucks. It really, really sucks. You know, and yesterday, it's funny. Yesterday, I was once again reminded on how physical media is really being phased out, because I was at my local Best Buy. I was there to help a friend pick up something, which turned out to be a mess on its own, but that's another story for another time. But this local Best Buy, I haven't been to in a very long time, because there's no really good parking options there. But I remember when this Best Buy opened, because it opened up around the same time that Target opened. And this used to be a place I went to every week. And I remember I would always peruse the DVD and Blu-ray sections, because they had at least 5 rows dedicated to all Blu-rays and DVDs. And everything was kind of split up. You have your movies, you have your Disney movies, you have your anime section, you have your TV show section, and then you had your Blu-ray and then 4K sections, right? And it was such a fun thing to just go up and down these aisles, take a look at things, and be able to, you know, see something maybe you haven't seen before, or a new release or a limited release. You're like, oh, I didn't know they made this, you know? Look what it looks like now. 1 row. 1 row left. And this is the selection that they have. How sad is this? I almost felt like crying when I saw this. It is so disappointing. And there's just nothing. There's nothing there. And it hurts. As someone who loves physical media, who still values and treasure physical media, to know that I cannot go to a store and just buy something that I want to buy that just came out, or peruse it like how I used to do back in the day, like at the video rental store. You know, that is something that is being taken away from us, and it's so unfortunate. I mean, this is just sad. There's nothing there. It's just very barren. And it was just very, very disappointing to see. But again, it's just another reminder that this is our future, right? So yeah. So it is what it is. It's very disappointing. But there's nothing we can do about it. That's where we're leading towards. And maybe, you know, at least on the movie side of things, these studios like Arrow and Shout, these are the companies that are still putting limited DVD releases out there, kind of more like the boutique releases out there. Criterion, hopefully they can continue and move forward with the support of physical media when it comes to movies, at least. I recently just got my Conan set that I'm planning to review, and it is a beautiful set that you could only buy through Arrow Films online, and I think it's sold out immediately. I've had it in my possession now for like almost a month, and I'm gonna do my own I like to do this series called Beyond the Disc, where I talk about like the menus and the packaging and all that of these DVD releases. And I've been looking forward to doing this one because this one is fantastic. And the Conan movies, the Schwarzenegger Conan movies, have been favorites of mine since I was a kid. So I really can't wait to do that. So I'm hoping that these at least third-party houses can work with the studios to produce these physical media releases, and keep them going. Because on the video game front, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get much of that support anymore. Unless it's like a limited run game, strictly limited. One of those companies that does like these limited runs. But they're not going to be able to do it for everybody. Right? So, yeah. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. Let me catch up on some of the chat here. They should make a Grand Theft Star Wars. You play as a rebel criminal doing heists on spaceships. You get woke points for... Oh, boo. Love Conan and Red Sonja. Yeah, those were some great films back then. But I remember like growing up watching Conan. I'll never forget. And what was it? And it kind of shows you how different network television was back in the day. They would always show the first Conan movie on TV. I think Channel 11, at least here, our Channel 11 here, would have movies on the weekend sometimes. And Conan was a movie that they would sometimes play. It was either 11 or maybe NBC who did it. But for the longest time, because I never really watched the movie for a while after I saw it on TV, and then I rented it and I saw that, there was stuff that they didn't show that I had no idea about. But the very end, when James Earl Jones's head gets cut off, I never knew exactly what happened because it's like Conan shows up, they confront each other, and next thing I know, they're showing a scene of like his head somewhere down the stairs. And I'm like, what happened here? Like as a kid, I was like wondering like, what's going on? And then later on to realize after watching the full length film that, Conan just basically chopped his head off. And it had this long thing of it rolling down the stairs, which is so funny. But I remember as a kid, I had no idea because I watched it on network television. Of course, they can't show all that stuff. So very funny stuff. All right. Can you believe that it's the 45th anniversary of Alien? The first Alien movie this year. 45 years ago, Ridley Scott's Alien came out. And to celebrate, you have Alien coming back to cinemas for the 45th anniversary. The official Alien Twitter account revealed the news in a posting on social media today, indicating it's back in theaters for a limited time beginning on Friday, April 26. Alien was originally released in theaters on May 25th, 1979, and starred, of course, Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. And of course, it spawned a huge franchise moving forward, all this stuff. I don't need to, Alien, Alien. That's it. I don't need to go further into it all. But nice that, since I was never able to see Alien in theaters, I may actually go and catch this. Because I would love to see Alien in the big screen. Because the thing I loved about Alien was that it was more of like a horror film. It was very scary. There are a lot of like horror thriller moments all throughout. And then when James Cameron directed Aliens, he turned it more into like this sci-fi action film, right? So I love that you have two versions of Alien within the same franchise. but covering different genres. And I love that. So I think this is definitely something I'm going to catch in theaters. I have to. This is interesting news here. So you have this actor, Stephen McKinley Henderson. If you remember Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 1, he played this character in there. That was pretty much a good part of the story, especially with good old Paul Atreides. And then when we got into Part 2, he is nowhere to be seen anywhere. It's as if the whole character was completely written out. And I was always wondering why that was. Like what happened there? So here's an article on Dark Horizons that kind of goes into it. Stephen McKinley Henderson, who played Thufir Hawat in the first film and reprised his role in the second. However, the scenes in which he appeared were also cut from the film, cuts believed to have been done to allow more time with the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. Another actor that was cut was Tim Blake Nelson, who had a small scene in the film, which was cut for time. Nelson has previously spoken about his scene's removal, saying that though he is heartbroken over that, there's also no hard feelings. Speaking to EW to promote his role in Alex Garland's upcoming Civil War, Henderson, this is Stephen McKinley Henderson, says he has no regrets regarding his character not making the second Dune. He also suggests his character was a hostage of House Harkonnen in those excised scenes. I shot stuff for them, had a great time with Denis and Austin Butler. I got to have a nice lunch with Christopher Walken. It was a great thing to be a part of, and I understand it comes with the territory. Then he had to do the film that he had to do, so I just love being a part of it. No regrets. Villeneuve has made it clear he has no plans for a director's or extended cut of the films, so those scenes won't be seen. Whether the strategist, warrior, and trusted advisor will return for a potential third entry remains to be seen. So yeah, it is a part of the filmmaking process. It is a part of the Hollywood, the Hollywood thing, where you could film scenes in a movie and eventually those scenes get cut out. We hear stories about that all the time. One of the great things, again, about physical media is that sometimes we are treated to those deleted scenes as special features. I mean, we're probably not going to get a lot of these physical releases anymore, nor are we going to be able to get access to a lot of these special features, which is a shame. And Denis already said that he's not doing any extended cuts or director's cuts. But if we had a DVD release that was fully supported and backed by the studio and had a dedicated team working on the DVD release or Blu-ray release, then it's possible that we could have scenes like those deleted scenes included as part of a section, like a bonus section. But it is unfortunate that it looks like we're not going to be getting any of that. So, but it's nice to hear that he's okay with it. I'm actually looking forward to seeing him in Civil War coming out next week, because I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see. All right. Now, there are a couple of things that I would like to talk about that that could potentially be controversial. Of course, you have the whole AI conversation. And then you have this thing that came out recently from Jerrod Carmichael talking about Dave Chappelle. Jerrod Carmichael is a comic and actor. He was in, Poor Things last year. He done a very well-received HBO comedy special. Right now, he has a comedy reality show on Max. And I think this is where it's coming out from. Chappelle, if you know him already by now. The Chappelle Show was a huge hit, but Chappelle was a very well-known, well-established comedic comic and actor for some time. I'm a huge fan of him, but he's gotten himself into a lot of controversy lately because of, trans rights, some things that he said about the transgender community. He's been called out. And I always feel like that when it comes to him apologizing or addressing situations, he's not really apologizing. A lot of his specials now are reacting to things that are put out there about him. Oh, Star-Lord, battery dying. Oh, no! No, it's all good. Do what you gotta do. Charge your phone, man. Thank you for joining. If I don't see you for the rest of the day, enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you next time. You know, and there's a lot of things that have been said about Chappelle, and you know, he uses his specials now to just commentate, and in a way, in his own way, to clap back at these things. So I really don't feel like they're comedy specials anymore. They're just him using it as forms for him to kind of speak back at everything that's being said. And I'm not a fan of that, to be honest with you. So you know what? Fuck it. Let's go into this article. Jerrod Carmichael, and this is on The Hollywood Reporter, says Dave Chappelle is an egomaniac who wanted a public apology after he questioned his anti-trans legacy. The reality show star offered what he considered constructive criticism to the comedian, who did not seem to take it well. Jerrod Carmichael is sharing more details surrounding his relationship with fellow comedian Dave Chappelle. The Jerrod Carmichael reality show... Oh my God, let me say that again. The Jerrod Carmichael reality show star spoke to Esquire for its digital April cover and shed some further light on what happened between him and Chappelle following the latter's anti-trans jokes in the special The Closer. Carmichael first spoke out about his fellow stand-up comedian in a 2022 interview with GQ, during which he asked Chappelle, "Do you know what comes up when you Google your name, bro? That's the legacy. Your legacy is a bunch of opinions on trans shit. It's an odd hill to die on." The actor came out as gay in 2022 during his stand-up special Rothaniel, which Chappelle called the bravest special for 1996. That's kind of a weird comment to make, all right? The Poor Thing star told Esquire that specific comment has stayed with him ever since. It's like, that's a funny enough line, whatever, but I wonder if he gets the irony that the fact that you are mocking it even then is why it was hard, he said. First of all, why is Chappelle making comments like that? Like, I don't think that's particularly really funny. I don't know. That's so weird. So bizarre. Oh, what's up, AKB Mobile in the hizzy? Glorified reaction shows. Yes. In regards to the Chappelle stuff, right? Yes. Absolutely. So throughout reality show, Carmichael opens up about his conflict with his sexuality, even going as far as allowing his Christian mother to pray to, quote, take the desire away. He explained to the publication that he still thinks that if someone says they're gay, something is wrong with them, himself included. So much of comedy is just gay jokes, he said. As long as people continue to laugh at it and mock it, and as long as it's a punchline, it's going to be scary for somebody. It's scary for me. Despite his original comments about Chappelle, Carmichael clarified that he didn't think the comedian was revealing anything personal about himself with them because he's removed from what he's talking about. The Carmichael Show co-creator was simply trying to note that he thinks Chappelle is smarter than that and deeper than that and has more interesting thoughts. While Carmichael meant his comments to serve as constructive criticism for Chappelle, they weren't taken that way. He took it as, fuck Dave Chappelle because he's an egomaniac, Carmichael noted. He wanted me to apologize to him publicly or some shit. All right, there you go. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's happening with Chappelle right now. I don't know if this is if this is just something that he feels is funny for him. We kind of know he likes poking the bear. That's kind of like been his thing. But why this? You know, why this all of a sudden? Does he have like some sort of personal vendetta against the trans community or the gay community, or maybe he's had a bad experience? Does he have some trauma about it, you know, growing up or in his family or something along the likes? Because I always thought, and this has nothing to do with comedy, I feel like when it comes to comedy, no holds barred should be allowed. You should be able to joke about anything you want. I come from the school of George Carlin, where as long as it's well constructed, you can make anything funny. The only problem is that a lot of people don't know how to very well construct jokes in ways that make it funny. Instead, it sounds like personal opinion, or it sounds like personal attacks, you know, prejudices, all that stuff. So certain comics nowadays can't do those kind of things, but people who are very well versed in the craft and know how to like really put together a good joke can make anything sound funny. You know, but at the same time, comedians from back in the day never really like made fun of people to put them in a way, in a light that is frowned upon. You know, it's more of like a celebration. It's like, I love you so much that I will make fun of you because that's how much I love you. Kind of thing like that. Kind of like how, you know, like you have your friends and we have these jokes amongst each other. We joke among each other. You know, sometimes they could be cruel or teetering cruel, but it's because we love each other so much that we could feel like we could do that to each other, right? But I feel like a lot of the comedies of the day that kind of hits subject matter like this is attacking. And that doesn't feel right. AKB chiming in, comedy is funny when you're punching up, not punching down. Carlin said that. Yes, that's correct. And oftentimes, even though, like I said, I'm a big fan of Dave Chappelle, it does unfortunately sound like he's always punching down. Especially in recent history with this subject matter. And I don't know why. I don't know why he's taking that stance. And I like Jerrod Carmichael. I've seen a lot of his specials. I think he's a funny dude. And Rothaniel was a brilliant comedy special and a very brave special for him to do, to come out on that special. That was taped live at the Blue Note here in New York. Blake, my buddy on the Movie Time podcast, was in attendance during that. You could hear his laughter in the background, which is so hilarious to me. I was like, there's Blake. I hear him. And, you know, he has every right to be offended by all this stuff. But why the back and forth? Why? And what is that comment? Like, why did Chappelle have to make a comment like that? Like, what is this whole, that's the bravest special for 1996? Like, what does that mean? Like, that doesn't, that, for me, that's not even funny. That's kind of like, it's in a way, it's short of him just saying, cool story, bro. Do you have to do that? I don't understand why they need to do that. And like I said, his recent specials, Chappelle I'm talking about, is really like AKB says, glorified reaction shows. Where's the comedy? Where is an hour of just you telling jokes about society, recent events, your family. Instead, he goes on these rants about one particular thing. I don't know what's happening here. It's so weird. And I don't really follow comedy like I used to back in the day. So there are a lot of these new comedians that are coming out that I have no knowledge of, no history with. Yeah, I remember I went to California. I think it was last year. Yeah, I think it was last year. And I went to the comedy club. I went to the infamous club there on Sunset Boulevard because I've always wanted to do that. Hold on. What is it? Not the Laugh Factory. Comedy clubs in LA. And I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this very famous comedy club. Because the Comedy Store, shit. How come I couldn't remember that? My God. But I went to the Comedy Store. Very famous comedy club there in LA. You know, it's the club that has like all the signatures of all the famous people that were once regulars there. And I went there, and there are some names I knew, like Bobby Lee was there. He's a crazy motherfucker. He's crazy, funny. Eliza Schlesinger, I think that's her name. Very funny comic. But everyone else, I had no idea who they were. You know? But comedy is comedy, and they all had the same type of comedy. And a lot of the comedy is like observational comedy, comedy of their experiences. Of course, there's always going to be the comedy of, you know, the jokes about current situations and events, you know, attacking Biden or Trump or whatever. But that not one of those comics ever attacked any kind of like particular race or genre or sexuality, or spent their entire set reacting to a comment someone made at them, or clapping back at a situation they were involved in, you know? And here you have someone who's getting paid so much money on Netflix, using that time just to react to something. It's like a YouTuber reacting to a trailer. You know, and it's just so bizarre. I just don't understand why he's taking stabs and doing like little comments and remarks about things like this. And maybe he does have a big ego. Maybe Chappelle has a giant ego. You know, maybe that time on the Chappelle show did something to him and why he had to take a step down. You know, I don't know. It's just so bizarre. It's so interesting and so weird to see how people evolve and change. Or maybe they were always like this. I don't know. It's hard to say. So I have no other comments about it. It's unfortunate that things like this have to happen that way. And I'm sure, you know, now with Jerrod Carmichael saying this stuff out in public on his new reality show, I'm sure we're going to be hearing from Chappelle again about it. So are we going to get another Netflix special about him commenting about Jerrod Carmichael's comments? I guess we'll find out. Wait and see. Clap back. That's the new Chappelle special coming out. All right. I've gone way over time, but there's this one other article I do want to read because I'm very curious about it. And of course, it's revolving AI, like I mentioned before. So this is the second controversial topic of the morning. Back at the Hollywood Reporter, how Hollywood's most feared AI video tool works and what filmmakers may worry about. 3 beta testers of OpenAI's Sora speak with The Hollywood Reporter about the positives and drawbacks of using the tech. Control is difficult. Quote, as generative artificial intelligence marches on the entertainment industry, Hollywood is taking stock on the tech and its potential to be incorporated into filmmaking process. No tool has piqued the town's interest more than OpenAI's Sora, which was unveiled in February as capable of creating hyper-realistic clips in response to a text prompt or just a couple of sentences. In recent days, the Sam Altman-led firm released a series of videos from beta testers who are providing feedback to improve the tech. The Hollywood Reporter spoke with some of those Sora testers about what it can and can't really do. I'm assuming this image, this grab here, is from one of those said videos. Sora was made available to the team at Shy Kids, a Toronto-based production company composed of Walter Woodman, Sidney Leader, and Patrick Sitterberg, who've collaborated on projects with HBO, Disney, and Netflix in feature films such as Blackberry, great film from last year, Therapy Dogs, and Nerve. With the tool, the trio created Airhead, a surrealist short film about a man with a balloon for a head. Woodman says he considers Sora another tool in his arsenal, similar to Adobe After Effects or Premiere. It's something where you bring your energy and your talents and you work with it to make something, he explains. There's a lot of hot air about just how powerful this is and how this is going to replace everything and how we don't need to do anything. That's really undervaluing what a story is and what the components of a story are and what the role of a storyteller is. Still, the potential is undeniable. For me, the most exciting thing is the idea of being able to bring your vision to life a bit quicker, to better demonstrate it, and then hopefully get past some of the hurdles and the prohibitive walls of gatekeeping of the film's industry, Sederberg said. Leader stresses it has the ability to really democratize the film industry. A caveat remains. Widespread adoption of AI tools in the movie-making process will depend largely on how courts land on novel legal issues raised by the tech. Among the few considerations holding back further deployment of AI is the specter of a court ruling that use of copyright materials to train AI systems constitutes copyright infringement. Another factor is that AI-generated works are not eligible for copyright protection. Ooh, we have a video linked here to that film, so I can't wait. A lot of hot air about the tool. I know, right? That's a great pun being used there. Notably, OpenAI doesn't disclose the materials used to train this system. It no longer reveals the source of training data, attributing the decision maintaining a competitive advantage over other companies. The firm has been sued by several authors accusing it of using their copyrighted books, the majority of which were downloaded from shadow library sites, according to several complaints against the company. In an interview with Shy Kids, team elaborated to THR on their experience creating a short video primarily using Sora, potential use of generative AI tools in Hollywood, and controversy associated with the tech. And then they go on into this whole interview. So let's check out this short film that was created by Sora. All right. So I'm going to open this on YouTube. And let's check it out. Let's see what this AI can do. I can already tell it's AI. Just the way AI draws things.
Well, they say everyone has something unique about them. Something that sets them apart. It's just in my case, it's quite obvious what that thing is. I am literally
crazy balloon.
Hot air. Yeah, living like this has its challenges. Windy days, for one, are particularly troublesome.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
There was one time my girlfriend insisted I go to the cactus store to get my Uncle Jerry a wedding present.
A lot of the cactus look fake.
What do I love most about my predicament? With the perspective it gives me, I get to see the world differently. I float above the mundane and the ordinary. I see things a different way.
I have
than
to
everyone
say,
else.
this is scary.
Yeah, and I feel like it's because of that perspective I'm reminded every day that life is fragile. We're all just a pinprick away from deflation. So I try to live
Wow.
life with a lightness, a buoyancy, a joie de vivre.
Joie de vivre.
I got a lot of ideas keeping this thing full. With any luck, I'll find a way to share them with everyone else.
Wow. Wow. That's scary. It's scary because to the untrained eye, that thing looks amazing. Everything there looks real to the untrained eye. To someone like myself who has used AI and fooled around with AI, especially like image creation and all that, I can tell a lot of parts of it that felt very AI generated. Certain movements, certain like faces that were drawn, like especially like the subway scene. The cactus looked very fake. That looked very AI generated. But a lot of like the background scenes, like the aerial shots, the city shots, the landmark shots, the ocean shots, that was very hard to determine if that was real or not. And for a short that's like 1 minute and 20 seconds, to be able to produce something like that through AI, and I'm sure they did voiceover. They probably had like an actor do like voice over for it, because the voice itself didn't sound AI generated. It looked really good. It looked really good. And it's crazy. It's crazy scary how good it looked. And this is just early. We are still just scratching the surface when it comes to this stuff. But look at how far it's gone from like, what, 2 years ago? Holy shit, man. It's crazy scary. And, I've always been someone that said, like, if AI can help with putting an idea together, I love the idea of using this for storyboarding, pre-viz stuff, before they actually go and film it and put the visual effects, they usually would animate what they want to see and what will happen. I can totally see AI helping with a lot of that stuff. But if AI can spit out something like this, Jesus. Crazy, crazy stuff. And for like an independent filmmaker who doesn't have access to like a lot of the tools or doesn't have the funds to pay for visual effects people or to go on various locations, I can only see the endless opportunities here when it comes to putting together something like that. Wow. I am blown away. Blown away. AKB wowzers. Exactly, to the untrained eye, they won't be able to tell the difference. And that's what I think Hollywood is hoping for. Where the younger generation is raised on more, yep. A year ago was the Will Smith spaghetti eating vid. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And that looked like shit. Because what they did with that is that they just took a whole bunch of still images and animated them like a flip book. But this is taking actual video, however they're finding it online, and stitching things together to make a video. It's just uncanny what the technology can do. And you're right. I think eventually Hollywood will get to that point where they hope that to a more generic audience, a younger generation who is used to seeing stuff like this, won't mind watching a full-length feature film in this kind of manner. someone like me, I would be easily distracted because I can tell like a lot of this stuff is not real. I can tell that there's some things weird going on. But is this the direction we're going towards? Maybe. I guess. And I can understand too why creative people are very concerned about it. But time will tell. I still very heavily think that there needs to be a human element attached to everything. You know, especially if you definitely want to tell an immersive, enriching type of story, there has to be a human element, a human connection. And if it's lacking that, I think people will easily recognize and feel it. Otherwise, I look at this and this would make a fantastic YouTube video like they just did. Like a short film. If you want to like enroll in like a short film competition. I mean, how many short filmmakers or first-time filmmakers can make a short film like this? In a short period of time, too. I mean, come on. That's crazy.
My name's Walt.
Really crazy. So going back to the article, they get into some specifics. So technical capabilities of Sora, what can it do? According to Woodman, it can generate text to video up to a minute long. Most of the time, we were making things that were closer to 20 seconds long. It can generate some pretty interesting images. So I guess they would just take 20-minute snippets and kind of edit them all together. Sederberg. It has the same pitfalls as a lot of generative AI in that consistency is difficult. Control is difficult, which as creatives, I mean, you want control. That was our general feedback to the researchers. More control would be great because we want to try to tell a story using a consistent character from shot to shot and from generation to generation. Part of that reason is why we ended up going with the guy with this balloon for a head, because it's a little bit easier to tell that that's the same character from shot to shot compared to someone whose face is changing. That obviously is an issue with it, but it's all early days right now. So what they're saying there too is if any one of you have fooled around with AI imagery, I have this problem too, where I will come up with an idea. It's like, all right, for an example, I want Indiana Jones to be in a tomb looking at the monolith from 2001. And what it'll do is that it'll generate like 4 images of their attempt to kind of recreate that. Now, if there's one particular image that I like, I would say, all right, take that image, and now the next shot I want is him, I don't know, climbing the monolith or him running away from it. And what AI would do is that it would generate 4 other shots of their take of that prompt, but they will never carry over the same creative elements that they made in that one particular shot that I liked. It's always thinking of something new. It's not consistent. So I can totally understand what they mean by that. If you're making a film with a singular character, obviously you want the character to look the same in every shot. But if AI is constantly generating a new version of the character, it's not going to work, right? So I totally understand that. And that, of course, obviously is a major pitfall. Because we're raised on actual physical props, we'll see these issues. Right. What's the word for that kind of special effects? The real stuff? Practical. The practical effects. We're so used to seeing practical things on screen that the minute we see it being digitized, it's so easy for us to call it out. Yeah. Tell me about the making of Airhead. What did the workflow look like? We dusted off our old folder of ideas that we have that I think every filmmaker has. And here's a character I want to see, or here's a situation I want to see. To be honest, a lot of those didn't work. They were pretty weird and crummy and awkward. And then we stumbled upon a guy with a balloon for his head, which was just a weird drawing I had in one of my moleskin notebooks. When we started to generate it, it looked really cool and really good. From there, we wrote a script, and after that, we began generating images together. It was really interesting because Sid or Pat would generate something that would kind of lead us down a different path and lead us down a different avenue. Once we had enough footage, we began to edit it down into a manageable chunk. We began to animate Pat. We began to animate. Pat was saying that I think probably around 50% of the shots have treatment on them. All of them have a sort of look and a color grade applied to them to make it all look consistent. We animated and rotoscoped it and made sure that everything was cohesive and sort of together. And then we added sound design. We recorded the voiceover. See, I was right about that, which is Pat doing the voiceover. And we added music, which was a song that we had made. It sounds easy enough. Here is a question. What did the process look like to get Sora to return your main figure in Airhead? And how many times did you have to prompt Sora to get a figure you were happy with? When you put in man with the balloon for his head and the machine has a little dream about what that can look like, a lot of times we'd find that it would give them a face and would draw with a marker, like little smiley face on it. We were like, not quite. So we'd write in man with a balloon with no face on it. And then, of course, the machine would see the word face and go, oh, do they want a face again? Yeah, this is exactly the problems I come up when I come with, what's that, AI image. So then we would get a balloon with a human inside of latex. And that was kind of horrifying in its own way. Ultimately, it's like with any prompting in general, it's about honing in the language of trying to figure out that what can get the machine to do what you want it to do. Leader says, I think it's also got used to that. I feel like we put in so many give us a man with a balloon for a head prompt that it was like, okay, I get it. I'm sure that was like after like 50 tries or so. I would love to actually know how many, but I would say it would be in the hundreds. All right, throw away my 50 tries. It's hundreds. Wow. That's a funny thing. You read the Twitter comments and they're like, oh my God, this was so easy. If you only knew how many psychotic balloon face things I've seen, you would know that it wasn't just. Here you go. Here's the movie. It still requires tons of work and tons of molding. And as Walter was speaking to before about the VFX stuff, a lot of times we would find a shot that had the perfect composition for us, but the balloon was the wrong color. So we'd have to go in and do some rotoscoping and recoloring. Some shots like the one where he's running through the park and chasing his balloon as a headless body, it wouldn't generate a headless figure. So we had to go in and roto the head out, do a little VFX work to try to make that look the way it needed. There was a lot of human hands touching this thing and to try to get it to look semi-consistent to get it to where we wanted it to be. So all of that stuff. And they go into more technical details about it. So look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of work still involved in it. What can be accomplished is fascinating, but it's a learning machine. So we're not at the point where we could just say, make me a movie about a boy and his dragon. And it's going to like spit out like a 30-minute clip about a boy and his dragon in his everyday adventures. We're not anywhere near that part yet. But what it can do right now is really fascinating. You have to acknowledge the fact that for technology, it's a very fascinating concept. I don't think it will ever get to the point where it will replace things. It should be a tool, and I've said this over, time and time again. It is a tool that should help with the process, not replace it. Where we're going to get to from here in the next 5 years, I don't know. But it is very fascinating, and like I said before, it is very scary on how it can look like when it's all said and done. But like they said, yes, they generated a lot of stuff through AI, but then it went through some visual effects work, some post-processing, color grading, and of course, the music and voiceover and all that. So there was still a lot of touches being made after the fact, a lot of human involvement after the fact to come up with that 1 minute and 20-second video. But at the end of the day, it's still extremely fascinating. Whether you like it or hate it, this is where we are. And that's what we can do. So, and I think with that being said, I am going to call it a morning. It is already almost 1 p.m. here, East Coast. I survived the New York earthquake. It's funny that I was able to stream and have it captured on stream. So if you haven't seen my reaction to the earthquake, you can see it on camera. Crazy, crazy stuff. But thank you again for everyone tuning in. Big shout out to Star-Lord, AKB Mobile, PQ from earlier. Always appreciate you joining and supporting the stream as always. Always happy that anyone watches this stuff and hangs out. If you're watching on demand, on a replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, do all those good stuff, dislike, whatever. Engage, interact, all that good stuff. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will be back here live Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Hopefully there'll be no more earthquakes, aftershocks, anywhere between this from now until then. We'll find out. And if there is, you'll hear about it. But with all that being said, stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. I will catch you all next time. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye.